commentary on what Napoleon Hill teaches is, he says it is better than anybody else ever has. And I love the chance that I have to try to introduce people to Napoleon Hill, because when you know your purpose, it's what you do with your whole life. Everything that you do is part of living that purpose. You don't just know your purpose and then don't deal with it for a while, come back to it next year. No, your purpose is always something that you're doing. The third key is understanding that your purpose combines your talents and passions with the contribution you want to offer to make the world a better place. That's a wonderful thing. And the fourth key is to relax and just go with the flow. That's to being natural with what it is that you're going to do. The fifth key is recognizing that your deeper purpose will be revealed over time. Now, I had a very interesting conversation 2 days ago with one of my business partners, and his 26-year-old son is starting into developing some of his own business ideas. And I really enjoyed that I got brought into the conversation, because his son needs a business plan. He needs to get focused. Up to this point, his son hasn't written down anything. And my partner said, well, if you're going to go share your idea with anybody, potential partners or banks or anybody else that you're going to collaborate with to move toward what your idea is, it's best to write it down. And Steve talks about that all the time. So he introduced me. I'd already met his son right then, but then we got into this part of the conversation. Well, here's the thing. The idea that his son has is a very creative idea. And it's not up to me to say whether it will or it won't work. I never do that with people. I just make sure that they do all their research, lay it out, learn their competition, see if it's really going to work. But I hope that idea works that his son has. I'm not even going to tell you what it is now. But here's the point. Just the process of trying to develop that idea, to explore that idea, putting in the hard work to analyze, look at it, do a plan, is going to help his son focus. And if that idea, with the work that he's going to put into exploring it, it will probably get his thinking started to where he looks at other things. Once the mind starts working like that, it'll keep on working. And that original idea may not be what he ends up doing, but it's going to be a starting point. That's one of the things that Napoleon Hill always says is the best time to start is now. So remember this, finding your purpose, identifying your purpose is a work in progress. It's something that some people, it takes much of their life to finally realize it and understand it. Some people are very, very fortunate. They know their purpose at an earlier age, and then they can get focused. So that's kind of my overview introduction. Yeah, you have a question?
No. Do I have a question? I'm supposed to be asking you.
Yeah, you want to ask me a question? Yeah.
I just want to make a comment about sometimes when you do have that idea or that desire, it's so easy to overanalyze and try to find just the right perfect thing. And sometimes that can just totally throw you off. I know just with experience and trying to do something new, sometimes you can just talk yourself right out of an idea, just maybe hearing too many comments about it or just overthinking something. And I think sometimes we just have to just go with it and not overthink it. So I just wanted to bring that thought.
Oh, yeah. Napoleon Hill says that very, very clearly. It is that don't listen to all the naysayers and the negative people. Last week on the show, when I was talking about the book itself, I talked about how a lot of family members and your closest friends just bring you down. Mm-hmm. And that was big in the book. It just talked about negative influences and people that don't have faith in what you're doing. You need faith. Well, what I was really leading into was intentional. I started to say it when we talked about purpose, that a lot of people talk about their purpose as if it's this incredibly universal, lofty ideal. That's what I tried to say. I couldn't say that earlier. A universal, lofty ideal. If you're going to have a purpose, just go for something that's a beautiful thing that's going to make the world a better place. That's what we call a lofty ideal. But that's not all that this really is. And I want to just say that all that's true about getting a purpose. It's a lofty ideal, big things. There's something that's really worthwhile with your life. Of course it is. But what about someone who is trapped in a deep, dark place that's struggling with no obvious escape that they can see, and they don't think that there's a way out? What I'm trying to say is, what about all the people that don't want to hear a lot of philosophies, a whole lot of, do-gooders talking about what you ought to do with your life when they're struggling every day to find food for their children to be. They're not able to get a job. They just have all the hard struggles in life, and life hasn't been kind to them. What about these people? These are the people, and I've been like that a lot in my life too, where there's struggles and it looks like it's going to be hard. So, we develop an attitude of not giving up and not quitting. But the essence of Napoleon Hill's book that I covered, the 5 essential principles of Think and Grow Rich, which is the most consolidated, get started with Napoleon Hill thinking, and then think and grow your thinking, think and grow rich, grow your thinking your whole life. And that's what I've been brought up on is Napoleon Hill thinking. And to be honest with you, I don't really know what not continuing and persevering would look like, because I've never come across anything in my life that has told me that I can't do it anymore, that I just always know that it's going to get better because I give it up to the Lord. That's my secret, is I give it up to the Lord and then I keep going. But Napoleon Hill, to sum up the 4 main points, it's 5 essentials. The 5th essential was about fears and negative things that keep people down, the 6 ghosts of fear. But the 4 main things that he's trying to say, it's all really so simple. 1, this is a summary of the book. Know your desire. That's your purpose. Know what it is that you desire out of life. You got to know it. And then he gets to the level of have a burning desire, where it's what you really, you're not going to be able to live without working toward this. It's that important to you. It can almost be like an obsession, but it's a very positive thing. It's a focus on what it is that you really seek out of life. That's the first thing. The second thing is use your imagination, use your mind, get excited about what you're doing, get creative. Like this burning desire should stimulate you, should excite you. And then you know what you want that you really got to do. You're very excited about it. Your mind's getting very creative. Your mind is really working now. You're going to learn how to tap into your subconscious mind and just have everything you are keep moving toward it inside your mind. But now you need to do a definite plan. You have to put a plan together that will help you get there. It's just lay out your plan. Just put it down. If you've got a business idea that's part of your purpose that you want to end up somewhere and it requires you doing certain steps along the way with an idea, do your business plan. But do a plan. Do a plan. But then the next thing is surround yourself with people who genuinely care about your success. And that's where we're going to get into the mastermind later in the show here. But, Right Thinking Foundation, my slogan, my motto, whatever you want to call it, is don't quit, plan ahead, it will get better. So that's kind of a summary of what the book was. So know what you want to do, use your imagination if you're thinking about it all the time, and then put a plan together, and then surround yourself with people that will help you achieve that care about you.
That's absolutely great. I just wanted to read this little quick paragraph when you reminded us all of the actual Right Thinking Foundation. Don't quit, plan ahead, it will get better. It reminded me of this little devotion that I read through Joyce Myers. It's just a quick little story about not giving up and not quitting. The story is told of a little boy who was overheard talking to himself in his backyard. He was wearing a baseball cap and carrying a ball and a bat. "I'm the greatest hitter in the world," he announced. Then he tossed the ball into the air, swung at it, but missed. "Strike 1, he yelled. He picked up the ball and said again, "I'm the greatest hitter in the world." He tossed the ball into the air. He swung again and missed. "Strike 2, he yelled. He straightened his cap and said one last time, "I'm the greatest hitter in the world." He tossed the ball up into the air and swung at it, and he missed. "Strike 3. Wow," he exclaimed. "I'm the greatest pitcher in the world."
I love that kid's attitude.
Just never giving up attitude, that never give up, and just changing your whole outlook in your life, it makes such a big difference. And I mean, you're you're really good at that. You always have been, Steve. You're just such a positive person, and you never give up. That's the reason why we came up with this slogan for Right Thinking Foundation, because it's just not giving up. So I just thought that was a cute story to encourage our listeners.
I love it. Donna, thanks for saying that. When I said earlier what I know my purpose is, to love everyone and to try to help everybody have a better life, that's what Right Thinking Foundation is all about, why I founded the foundation. And I really hope and pray, and I'm working toward it, that I can pass that type of thinking that I have, that I attribute a lot of it to my lifetime of following Napoleon Hill and reading all of his stuff, or as much of it that I can always get my hands on, because he's got a program that I think is just absolutely tight, that it's got everything in it. It's based on the Bible, but he takes it and goes practical. And I want to go into a little bit more on that in a second. This attitude that I have when I go into prisons, one thing that I learned a couple years ago when I met Jim Stovall. When I met Jim Stovall and I asked him, would he give me something that I can take with me into the prison at Powder River Correctional in Baker City, Oregon? And he didn't hesitate, and he said, yeah, you tell those men that even if you were the only person living on this earth, that God would have done the exact same thing with them, the exact same thing with the Son for you. If you were the only person alive, he still would have done the exact same thing for you, because that's how much he loves you. And then tell them that in every adversity or hardship, there's a seed of equivalent benefit. And what that means is that no matter how bad it is, there's something in it that you can discover that will help you overcome it and move forward and grow to be a better person and be a stronger person. And that's a Napoleon Hill quote. But I give out 5 or 6 books every time that I go to prison to the library, and it makes it easier for me to connect with people, because I tell them that I have a message, but I want them to know that my message is not just my message. My message is the same message that some other people that are just people that I admire greatly, that I've read, that I want to share. And I give out 3 Napoleon Hill books. I give out Think and Grow Rich. I give out Outwitting the Devil, and I give out Owning Your Own Mind, or owning your own mind. And then those are the 3 Napoleon Hill books. It's got this attitude built into it. And then I give out a Jim Stovall book, The Art of Productivity, which is about finding who you are and becoming the best that you can. That it's the same themes that we're talking about. And I give out a Robin Kasarjian book called Houses of Healing, based on her program from the Lionheart Foundation, that when you're in prison, that you can turn this place into a house where you can heal. Healing's a big part of finding your purpose. But I give out a Viktor Frankl book that's a classic. It's called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. And Viktor Frankl, I like to tell his story sometimes. Viktor Frankl was a psychologist that was in World War II concentration camp. And he was in a concentration camp the whole war. And while he was in the concentration camp, he really analyzed why some people can survive and others can't. And the first half of the book is the graphic experiences of his time in the concentration camp. Both his parents and his, I think, a brother and a sister all died. His wife died while he was there. It was tragic. But then the second half is when he came out of it with a psychology that's called logo theory. And what it basically says is that we all have to have a purpose. It's exactly what we're talking about right now. We all have to have a purpose. And the difference in the people that survived and the people that gave up and died, where they lost the will to fight anymore, is that they knew their purpose. And Viktor Frankl says the exact same thing that Napoleon Hill says, and that is, there's one thing that we all have that no one can take away from us, and that we have a freedom that is our freedom no matter where we're in prison. And that freedom is we have the power to think our own thoughts and have our own attitude. And that's pretty powerful. So if you're down, just remember that. There's been people that have been down probably a whole lot worse than any one of us will ever be down that speak like that. But so let me continue here. The reality is that it's very difficult, and that you may have limited resources, no money, no one supporting you, lots and lots of obstacles. So what do? I want to go back to the overall idea that I'm trying to put out here. Knowing your purpose is not just some esoteric type thing that is